You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record. Okay, everyone. Hello. I wanted to come on very quickly and have a couple of announcements, and then I want to talk about Adnan Syed and his hearing that is next, not tomorrow, but next Thursday. So not this Thursday, but next Thursday, October 5th. And what everyone's asking me is if I think Adnan Syed is going to flee before his hearing. And I thought to myself, well, why would he flee? It's just a do-over, right? I keep hearing it described in the papers as a do-over, that they're just going to do everything over with the same cast of characters. I assume same judge. And I don't know what they're going to come up with. For Adnan, he said at his press conference that, and if my understanding is correct, that he is going to have some kind of witness refute Uric, the former prosecutor's notes, what he meant taking those notes. So I could only think that witness would be Bilal's ex-wife. Is she going to come and testify? Or is he going to bring some kind of affidavit? But that was before I really started to dig into it. And what I found out about this hearing made me realize what that press conference was all about, besides attacking Heymanly's family and attacking everyone who worked hard to secure his conviction and everyone who worked hard to reinstate his conviction. Part of that press conference was the last gasp of a desperate man. And the reason he's so desperate is because if what I'm reading is correct, he's going up in front of the Supreme Court. Some of the same judges who reaffirmed his conviction in 2019. And usually in stories like this, where the formerly convicted criminal doesn't have much, and it will be very embarrassing for the entire wrongful conviction movement for the hearing to go forward. Usually what happens is that there's some kind of deal made before this hearing can ever happen. Excuse me, I had to cough. But in this case, it looks like perhaps, unless that press conference, that lawyerless press conference, was Adnan Syed getting revenge and accusing people left and right of the kind of really underhanded stuff that I believe his team did. And then he's just going to go flee the country right after. I've had people suggest that to me and think that that's really what it was about. It was this last statement, and then somehow he's going to flee. And of course, he started his press conference all about his bail hearing and how bigoted it was of the prosecution to argue that he was going to flee. So is that what it's going to be about? But he is in for a really hard hearing if this is going down the way I think it's going down. Now I really understand why he's scared. If I had what he has as terms of evidence, and shall we review? So he's got 2 new suspects, one being Mr. S, Alonzo Sellers, the guy who liked to run around naked, who found Hae Lee's body. And I don't think there's much in that to prove that. I don't think there's much in the way of evidence for that besides an idea. 2, there's Bilal's ex-wife statement, which I just referred to before, where Bilal's ex-wife, now if you don't know who Bilal is Adnan Syed's mentor. He was his mentor. Bilal kept a picture of Adnan in his wallet. And I believe he's in prison right now, and we can go over his criminal history at some other time. But what Bilal's ex-wife was describing was Adnan Syed's menacing behavior before Hae Lee was murdered. And with how close Bilal was to Adnan Syed's family, I don't see how her testimony is going to hold a lot of weight when you have Urich's testimony saying, I know what I wrote. I know what I heard. It's going to be really, really interesting hearing, and it's not good for Adnan Syed at all. It's the first time I thought that he could really go back to prison. And I wouldn't be surprised if some kind of deal is worked out at the last minute. But it's only in the prosecution's interest, if they are interested in this movement, and we know they are from the statements the state's attorneys made, that he's fully in support of Adnan Syed. So that's a little bit of cast of characters, right? I believe Marilyn Mosby has vacated her position, and it's now a new gentleman who's already said he supports the release of Adnan. But wanting him to get out and legally getting him out can be 2 different things, and going to be very, very interesting. And I'm starting to believe that the best thing for everyone involved is that Adnan Syed does flee the country and is never heard from again. Because if he's in prison, the campaign goes on. And the pain to Hae Lee's family goes on. Legal challenges, hearings. Obviously, that's what I would prefer. But if he just disappears into, thin air, I would think that was the closest thing we will get to some kind of ending to this. Because I don't believe that this is a movement that never says guilt, and they never stop working, and they have endless resources, it feels like. Right, I'm going to take a quick break. When I get back, a couple of big announcements. Stay tuned. If you are enjoying this episode of my True Crime Report, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode. Get access to exclusive podcasts and other bonus content by becoming a patron today. If you have a question or comment for me, shoot me a super chat and I'll do my best to answer it and read it on air. Thanks so much. Now back to the show. Okay, 2 announcements and a psychic prediction, or my psychic prediction. One, for patrons, There is a new episode about Russell Brand and the allegations against Russell Brand. I believe it's over an hour, close to an hour episode in my Patreon. Check it out. You can support the show for as little as $4.99, I believe, $5 a month. And you get access to everything, all sorts of different stuff, and different tiers, hangouts, my eternal gratitude. Check it out in the Patreon link below. Secondly, this coming up every day until the hearing, I will be talking about 100 reasons why Adnan Syed is guilty. We're going to be going over the evidence against Adnan Syed, refreshing ourselves with it. And every day we're going to take like a different theme. For example, so like one day we'll look at the cell phone tower stuff. Another day we'll look at Adnan's own words and actions, and we'll break it up that way. So every day until the hearing, we're going to be talking about Adnan Syed. And thirdly, I was just reviewing. Hold on one second. Let me go let my cat out. Okay. It was driving me crazy. Was it driving you crazy? So I was going over one of my really early episodes, and the episode is called, I believe it's called something like How Sarah Koenig and Serial Will Release a Murderer. And I would say that was one of my more accurate predictions. But where I was not accurate is I really thought, since Rabia based this, meaning Serial, her idea to involve the media, some kind of media, she had been inspired by the West Memphis 3 documentaries. And of course, since the West Memphis 3 took an Alford plea, and an Alford plea is legally a guilty plea. However, the convicted person or the formerly convicted person agrees. That's usually how it works. It's usually that it's like once their conviction has been overturned for some reason or another. See Michael Peterson, see the West Memphis 3. I don't think that plea came down like while they were still convicted. So it was odd, very odd there. Anyway, the convicted agrees that the state had enough evidence to convict them, but they can still maintain their innocence. So it's a kind of middle ground. And I really thought that would be the resolution to Adnan Syed getting out. But I made some other predictions, and it's very short, and I thought it would be fun to listen to together. So let's just take a listen, shall we? I mean, the sound is terrible. I may eat my laptop from the cringe of listening to myself, but it's very short. And I think that's quite telling. And we're going to see, this is just the beginning of the Adnan show. And once he gets out on the Alford, if it goes down that way, this is my prediction. Obviously, I'm not a psychic, but I think if I had to bet, I would bet that he's going to take an Alfred, and we're going to see the little, pony show of Adnan going around as a wrongfully convicted person, and he was wrongfully convicted for strangling his ex-girlfriend Heyman Lee, and he spent time in prison, how horrible it was for him and how he managed to survive, and he was freed because of a podcast and how great that is, and he's going to get a lot of money in speaking engagements, and it goes on and on and on. And that's how PR for murderers works. And so, I mean, does that sound like exactly, besides the Alfred plea, which I could not have known. I could not have known that he would have got that we would live in a time, and I could not have known in 2018, excuse me, that we lived in a time where state's attorneys and district attorneys would be really all concerned with the defense's side, the convicted criminal side of the case, and not have any interest in protecting the people of their state or their city or even the victim's family. So, I mean, it's just like absolutely wild. I mean, who could have I mean, so sinister. Who could have predicted that? But what a amazing turn of events this reinstatement is, and I am really interested to see what happens at this hearing if it goes on, and it will be like a miracle in my mind that this thing goes on. If it goes on, I will be shocked, because usually something is worked out right beforehand. That's what I have for today. Tune back in tomorrow. We're going to be going over the case against Adnan Syed, bit by bit by bit. 100 reasons why he's guilty. 10 at a time. 10 reasons at a time. See you back then. Have a great one, everyone.